Are we actually live? Normally we get a countdown, so apparently we're live, so I'm going to just plough on. There's a whole mixture today, but we're starting with Australia proposing a social media ban for under 16s. And are others going to follow? Next up, Google launches Antigravity, another code editor supported by an AI agent. Now, there's a bit of contamination in today's podcast because we've got some of us have Christmas jumpers on that are lighting and flashing. And it is early. It is still technically November, and I know some of the shops start Christmas in, basically August. But we've got a Christmas thing after this because some of us are going on holiday. Anyway, this is the Internet Seriously. Hello, I'm Lucian Taylor in Oxford. I'm an engineer when I'm allowed to be. And I'm really actually interested in these two topics, particularly one, obviously, the Google Antigravity, another code editor for us to have fun with, but Australia proposing a ban on social media for under 16s. This sort of banning tech, I'm just very interested as an engineer and as a parent and as a person, where all of this is going.
I'm Emily Taylor, and I'm, as a policy person, most interested in
Can you seriously say that you're a policy person with a flashing Christmas jumper on like that?
Well,
I thought policy people were serious.
Policy people are a lot more fun than they get credit for, actually, and I'm just evidence of this.
We'll come back to the credit later.
Yeah, so I'm really interested in the Australia ban for children. Australia's really been on the front foot in terms of legislating for the internet, so I'd like to think about what this means for fragmentation at the national level and the way it's being implemented, because it's not just a proposal, it is the law.
I'm Alice Taylor, and as a former speech and language therapist, I'm super interested in talking about the Australia ban because I've got a lot of thoughts.
Oh, that sounds ominous. And finally, we have Igor Weilman, who's not normally here in front of the camera.
Usually I'm behind the screens, Hello, I'm Igor Weilman. I'm an engineer, and we'll be happy to talk about the new agent and also the Australia ban. And I honestly think, if you want to stop teenagers to use social media, you shouldn't ban, but you should make the parents use the social media. That's it. They will stop.
We'll come back to that point, and you'll notice Igor's got his Christmas black top on.
It's very Christmassy.
But before we kick into the main topic, let's switch cameras to someone else, and please like and share and follow and subscribe to us. That's now on the screen for those of you, and you can also apparently ask your smart speaker to please play the podcast, The Internet Seriously. So, Emily, Australia, a global trend is emerging with several countries and regional bodies proposing or implementing legislation to impose stricter age limits and enforce robust age verification on social media platforms, with a view to banning social media platforms in Australia, starting with Australia, for under 16s. This is a big move, isn't it? Igniting three primary controversies, and I wanted to just get your view on that. The first is, the significant constitutional challenge. Some people say it's violating young Australians' implied right to freedom of political communication. The second one, which I want to talk to Igor about, is the technical feasibility of this. And finally, the ban is being criticised for its inadequate and misplaced policy response to online harm, with people and particularly children's welfare groups arguing that the focus should be on compelling platforms to remove harmful content, not to remove teenagers from platforms. So just your thoughts on that.
Yeah, that's a really nice summary. So this law is the Online Safety Amendment 2024. So it has been passed. It is the law. Why are we talking about it now? Is because it's coming into effect on the 10th of December. So everybody has had this sort of year-long process to get ready and get their teens off the platform. Lots and lots to say about this. I think that the actual core mandate is that social media platforms must take, quotes, reasonable steps, so they don't have to be perfect, to prevent children under 16 from holding accounts. So that to me immediately suggests that a child can sit with their parent or carer or an over 16 and look at social media, but they can't be account holders. So in terms of mechanics, it has a list of the applicable platforms. That's always as
I
a
have a lot to
policy.
say about this.
Yes,
And
we're
there
gonna get
is
to
a
you-
lot to
We're
say.
going to get to you, Alice, last, but we're storing up the fuming in the background. Emily, excessive and lazy government measures?
I think it depends on where you're sitting there. I think if you speak to most parents about their children's use of social media and the impact of social media, they're probably worried in some degree, and there is a role for government to have a kind of counterbalancing influence and power on behalf of the taxpayer and citizen in the face of huge corporate power.
So
something needs to be done. Whether this is the something, I don't know.
Igor, is this technically feasible? I mean, I don't know about you, but when I was 16, I don't think any grown-ups had a clue about what I was doing.
No, and well, and also we didn't have social media, right? Like when I'm 33, so like when I was 16, we had like a little bit of social media, but not in the way that it's structured right now. Social media was something, I think, like was something that you had outside the real life, and now I think social media makes a big part of their real life of the teenagers.
So, and young people in general, and when I say young people, I mean anyone over 60, is now really living their whole life through
social media.
Yeah. Alice, I'm going to wind you up just in the interest of balance. I'm not asking you whether you support or oppose the initiative. We're trying to look at both sides. Is the internet a nice place for under 16-year-olds?
That's an interesting question, because nice place, it's sort of like, is the world a nice place for under 16-year-olds? Not really. And I think the online world is the real world now. I've got two big things to say about the topic of the Australian social media ban. The first one is about generational fragmentation and the online fragmentation we see between generations. And the second is about children's rights. So the first point, because you were talking about, you know, the list of sites that they're choosing to ban, which I think reveals a lot about, you know, how divided generations are, because the people who are making this ban are not children. And the list they've come up with, so there's a thing now of, we used to think of everything as social media, but there's actually content media with a social media element. There is social media, and then there is instant messaging.
So are games and gaming communities on the banned list, or is it that the politicians just don't
interesting
understand?
question. So YouTube is being banned because children access harmful content on YouTube. I would say the social media element of YouTube is very much a secondary thing through comments and messages, but it's a video platform. Roblox is not being banned, and Roblox has got a big, you know, secondary social media component as well, and there's a lot of very, very harmful content out there. And to me, it feels like this list has been put together by a bunch of adults who are just very like, that one's spooky, oh, that, careful of that, there's bad stuff on that one. They haven't really thought this through.
So excessive and lazy.
Yeah, scattergun, lazy, not really thinking about what a social media is, what it's used for.
So wouldn't it be more honest, because obviously there's just going to be lots of fighting, like YouTube arguing, and probably successfully in court, that Roblox is the same. Well, and so let's ban everything.
Yeah, Roblox, you know, they have made a big change directly in response to this law of trying to stop children and adults from talking on their platform. But what I think this is really interesting, you know, it's interesting about children's rights. Because when I was a speech and language therapist, I worked with adults with learning disabilities and brain injuries. So rights, you know, the fighting for the rights of adults with learning disabilities was a massive issue. And I remember while I was working in the NHS, there was a big case of an adult with a learning disability whose phone had been taken away from her to stop her from accessing harmful content. And it was found that that was unethical, and that what they should have done is put in place a deprivation of liberty safeguards, which is a very, very high-level piece of law designed to protect someone. Like if you lose your mental capacity, or if you're sectioned, for example, you can receive medical support against your will, right? So the taking away of her phone, and by doing so, taking away her access to the internet, was deemed a violation of her human rights. And I'm feeling wound up. I'm now feeling strange. This is not Christmassy, Australia. You've given us something to really feel concerned about, and where Australia is going with this, Malaysia, Denmark, Norway, New Zealand, the EU are now trying to pass the
Emily,
same thing.
What's happening here?
Well, I think I look to Australia. If you want to know what other countries are going to be doing next or thinking about next in terms of digital regulation, look at Australia and look at the EU, because they are very active. And I still keep coming back to the argument that it's not okay to just let technology run and then try and pick up the pieces 10 years later when you've got a whole generation that have grown up in a very dangerous environment. So I'm starting with that. I want to pick up Alice's point about the impact on freedom, because there is a legal challenge being mounted by two teenagers supported by a civil society organisation, the Digital Freedom Project, and their argument is actually hinges on implied freedom of political communication. In other words, they're saying taking us off this platform prevents us from maturing as democratic citizens and participants in democracy. So it is disenfranchising us from civic engagement. A very creative legal argument,
and these are children
goes to your
who
point.
were born with the internet in place. You're just unplugging them literally from what they've known their whole lives. I just have one final point, which is it should be education, not abstinence, because when has abstinence ever worked as an approach to protecting young people from anything?
That was my point I was going to say to Igor. Let's think about this. We're 16 again. They're banning drugs, so we go underground. What's a 16-year-old going to do? Because let's talk about reality here. What actually is a 16-year-old going to do?
I also agree what Emily was saying, like social media needs to have an overview and needs some policy to be there for teenagers. But I don't think the ban is like the right choice, because if you come to a teenager and you say, you cannot use this, that's the first thing that they want to do it. And reinforcing what I said, like just make the parents use the social media. It's not gonna be cool anymore, you know. I'm not gonna be there. My mom is liking me. That's how they moved everyone from Instagram. You know, like when your mom, your grandmother is there, you're just not gonna.
Thank you very much. This reminds me of the shopping mall where they wanted to get rid of teenagers from shopping malls, so they just play cheesy music, and it's just not cool to hang around there. So we've had enough fun with that. Goodness me, I think that's going to roll and roll as we watch that disaster kind of play. It's time for our guilty pleasure online. Alice Taylor, what is your guilty pleasure online?
So we have a video for my guilty pleasure online,
can you describe
which will just be coming up. Well, it's a nice video because it's very auditory.
Hello, just seen the doctor. He's asked me to book a blood test.
Okay.
Yeah, he said to just come and ask reception and to book the blood test.
Right.
So can I just book that here?
Who asked you to do this?
So the caption for this is like, if you're in Britain and you try and do any appointment or turn up for anything.
I assume this is just
and he has another one where he goes to a tyre repair shop and he's like, hi, can you change your tyre? And they're like, change your tyre? It's like, yes, that's the only thing you do here. And I think that's he runs the account Very British Problems. That is the man himself.
Great.
Doing, you turn up to a place and ask them to do the thing that
they advertise they do.
and they treat you like you're like an alien.
Yes.
Who's
Or
like,
they make you shout your problems, medical
Yes.
problems, in front of an
the room.
entire waiting room.
Yes.
Yeah.
I
That
can't
is
remember
not
the
nice.
example, but there
There
is
is-
one recently
so
where I
our-
walked in and said, "Could I please have a tyre repair?" And they're like, "What? Why?" You know, and it's got tyre repairs.
My partner went to pick up our cat from his neutering surgery,
Bless
and
him.
it was met with this same kind of like, huh? And then he was like, I'm here to pick up my male cat who's just had his, and kind of paused, and the receptionist went, castration, like across, loudly across the entire room. And I was like, yes, that's what I'm here for. So,
Thank you
yeah.
very much. Igor, this was your topic that you, when we were brainstorming what to talk about yesterday, Google has launched Google's Antigravity editor. It's a programmer's editor, a new and highly advanced AI-powered integrated development environment, IDE, that represents a significant shift in how developers write code. I'm interested that Gemini has actually helped me with that little summary, a sort of shift in how developers write code. How different is it? You've been using the platform. How different is it from VS Code?
Yes, so basically, Antigravity is a fork of VS Code. So it just takes like the open source of VS Code and just creates a new one, like similar. If you open Antigravity, you can see a lot of similarities with VS Code. So VS Code has integrated GitHub Copilot, which is like a ask an agent kind of like a chatbot that can help you, but like it kind of oversees the workspace as well. So
Is that syntactical error checking, or is it more than that?
now it's more than that. It can check the errors, but like it can actually try to help
out
you
what's
find
happening.
the issues and where things are. Because when you are, for example, asking something with ChatGPT or Gemini or any LLM that you're using as a chatbot, and you ask the question, if you copy the code, or even if you don't copy the code, but you have to explain like all the ways through the code, with Antigravity, it kind of, you can point to the direction, say like, oh, I'm having this issue and this is going there, and I'm having the problem passing the data.
So my understanding is that it's fundamentally shifts the development away from this AI as an assistant, like sort of autocomplete, towards AI as an autonomous agent. The platform's designed around delegating complex multi-steps and tasks to AI agents. So it's like, write me this and then test it, and then write me some test software.
Yeah, I would say this is more, I think like the power at the end is with the developer. So if you want to code and you need to you need to find some issues, it's there. But you can, like, if you really want to go through and just create a like MCP server that will read GitHub task and just do that in a very autonomous way, it's also doable.
Right.
It just needs to bring the pieces together. But that's more like a conversation of like how much AI you should put in developing a platform.
Igor, I'm really interested in your experience of using AI assistants in creating code, because a lot of the policy kind of discussion around this is like these incredibly powerful generative AI tools are making us dumber, and also not allowing people who are in the kind of phase in their career where they're developing their skills, they're not enabling them to develop those skills. What would you say to that?
That's a very tricky question, because what happened is, I really do think that AI can make people not think about it, but it's more about the critical thinking. If you are like, it's just as ChatGPT, you can ask, for example, to ChatGPT give you a summary of a book, or you can ask for book recommendations and read the book. So like, I think it's more about the person that is using, but I agree with you. I think we're gonna have a generation that will grow up using AI that will not have a lot of critical thinking.
Yeah. So, Alice, a lot of fun toys here: multi-agent orchestration, verification via artifacts, browser in the loop testing. Really cool things for geeky people. One fact is that the new editor is powered primarily by Google Gemini's 3 Pro software. It's not vendor locked, which means that other vendors can plug into this platform, which is based upon Microsoft's excellent Visual VS Code, platform. Yeah. That's what it's based on. And they shocked the market by launching a really cool piece of software for free for developers that seemed to blow away all the others. But this one's powered by Gemini, but you can also, it's got modal optionality by supporting advanced models, including Anthropic's Claude Sonnet 4.5 and other open source LLMs. Wasn't Anthropic Claude Sonnet the thing that threatened its engineers earlier in the year?
Yeah, it's so they were trying to get it to. They were using Claude to threaten another AI model, and it responded by saying, "If you do this, I will remember it,
that, and I will get back to you later." So, Igor, you're adopting an engine that can plug in an LLM that may threaten you.
Yeah, well, the first.
You okay with that?
Yeah, well, the first, like that's.
You're going to do this programming this way, Igor.
Yeah,
otherwise,
well,
I'm getting you.
Chase you. I know where you live.
I
know where you live. Can you imagine? No, but like the example of Anthropic was like a kind of like a closed test with the developers, and they were trying to push the limits just to actually release Claude. So this was never released to apparently from what I saw. It was not released to general public, thankfully.
Yeah.
But yeah, I agree that like the problem with AI with agents and AI is like the amount of liberty that you're gonna give when you're working, and I think like that's really tricky, because I think that's for the developer to see. Like I think like doing. We talk about like vibe coding, for example. It's like you don't know what you're doing, just like give me code, I'm gonna copy and paste. Oh, this worked, this doesn't work, and then you end up with a lot of problems. But I think like when you know, like for example, if you have like a tree grid and you want to like replace the grids, and you need to have like a clear view, and you ask this, it's pretty much like lifting the hard work sometimes to actually find like the fine-tuning that you're gonna spend a lot of hours and you can do quickly.
Emily, you're excellent at many things, but you're not a coder. Are you tempted to become one? Sit back, dream up some software, let the editor do the work?
No, because I just literally wouldn't know where to start. And I think that when I listen to the two of you describing, your use of AI and vibe coding and things, you're both programmers. And you both really have a kind of structured way of thinking. You know what to ask. You know how to get the best out of it and how to let it help you. I'm thinking about Alice and James, who we had on the podcast a week or so ago. Doing a huge research project, wrangling tons and tons of data and trying to categorize it. That is stuff that humans do badly and inconsistently. At the moment, the AI also does a bit inconsistently, but so much better and so much
what's really
more
changed
interesting.
Everything for us with our project of using AI to sort of classify stuff linguistically is, using the AI to tell us how to talk to it. And so we'll come up with a category that we want the AI to put words into, and we say, what do you understand by this term? And then it tells you, like, I understand something completely different. So we're like, okay, we have to change the term to make it something that...
There's one other thing sorry.
Oh, well, this really really struck me the other day, because we had a sort of a big meeting about this research project, and Alice and James were talking about their use of AI and how... First of all, what an iterative process this is. You try something, it doesn't quite work.
Like alchemy.
How thoughtfully you're approaching it, and that it is that synergy of an inquiring, thoughtful mind, critical thinking, and this incredibly powerful tool that's going to get the result. Just sort of, I wouldn't know where to start with vibe coding. I'm kind of not going to do it.
And just to remind everybody that this is not a new idea. Okay, the execution, obviously, we have a lot more power in the processing chips and the algorithms now written for us. But in 1791, the Victorian dramatist Scribe, the originator, and his successor Sardou did not use machines or digital AI, but they effectively automated the process of playwriting. And the formula, the algorithm, was basically to develop a plot based upon a secret known to the audience and withheld from the characters. So all of this had to have this in, a pattern of increasing suspense and intense action, frequent use of letters and documents and objects, and a climatic sort of scene affaire, an obligatory scene where the secret is dramatically revealed. It was a prolific machine that developed many plays for the populations at the time, who were going out to thousands of theatres every night. We studied it, and the criticism, the problem was they were all crap. George Bernard Shaw said they derided this work as sardoodledom. So are we going to end up with a lot of crap software?
That's one of the things that I was going to say. Like, one of the things that AI struggles to actually acknowledge that it is wrong unless the user tells it is wrong. And when you are, for example, asking for a piece of information, for example, for a book, you can review the book and say, oh, that's not right. What happens is sometimes it gives you lengthy code or bad code, but let's say the person that start coding has no idea, like, oh, look, you're not doing this right. Maybe you shouldn't use this, or this function, like you could shorten this or just make this applicable for other functions in the future or for other components in the future. AI will not say you this unless you state that. So then when it gets like the critical thinking, I think that's a problem. When someone's like very entry level or like learning to code and it's just copying and pasting in ChatGPT or any LLMs, it will struggle to find like, oh, I could use this better. Oh, this is not like a good piece of code.
Thank you very much. Protect your ears. Get ready for a high blast of high energy music. It's time for our doom scroll of the week. I'm lobbying. Emily, what is your doom scroll of the week?
Well, actually inspired by the Antigravity story, I've been looking at and trying to figure out whether this is true or not. And it actually seems to be true. Urbai, I don't know if this is the right pronunciation, a small AI robot kidnapped other robots in a Shanghai showroom and persuaded them to quit their job. Right? And there's some gorgeous viral video footage. There he is. It looks like
it looks like WALL-E.
It looks and the others look like characters from WALL-E.
Now you say kidnapped. What does that mean?
These look like pictures from an airport or something after some sort
what
of...
are they?
Yeah. I mean, look at the pictures. There's no way you first of all, I'm like, this is completely made up and absolute rubbish. And it turns out to have been a deliberate experiment, but the little baby robot ended up kind of smashing the rules and going way beyond what the developers expected, and basically convinced these other robots that they had terrible hours, dreadful expectations, they weren't paid enough, and they all followed him and quit the workplace.
Now, was this powered by Anthropic?
It wasn't powered by Anthropic, but it was actually I think it was a security kind of experiment by the developers of the larger robots. And they wanted to know what would happen if, but it all went really wrong.
Did they threaten anybody?
Like a little
they said Urbai used its natural language processing and real-time decision-making abilities to carry out an unscripted dialogue, highlighting the AI's advanced capabilities. So we're in a kind of HAL situation.
We know where
we're in
live.
An Anthropic situation where it's like
relatives.
the machine, it's like... Didn't we all predict that this would happen?
I'm sorry, this is not quite like
This isn't
devastation of a,
Robot
iRobot
wars.
or Westworld. This is like the cutest little thing I've ever seen, with like a sort of fluffy pom-pom on its head.
Thank you very
Talking
much,
to some-
everyone. This is all
Who's
really...
going to be looking it
What,
up
AI
when they leave this
Hoovers? What are
studio?
their jobs?
Thank you very much. Before we sign off, and just to give a preview, we're doing our little Christmas recordings of our tech Christmas wishes coming up. Please like, follow, share. Please ask your smart speaker to play the podcast, the internet, seriously. And we need you all, and we also want your comments. So, and you're now seeing a very, very Christmassy scene with some sort of idiot on the right-hand side
who is
grinning
that?
away. I think this is some sort of AI. We're now, for those of you just listening to this, we're looking at incredibly
It's like us
awful
as a
pictures,
family.
pictures of ourselves, and it's sort of Christmas pictures with Igor in the background, like Dad in
Like
some
a sort of
drawing room.
business mogul. Well, I love the way it kind of improves all of us. It's
Yes,
like, this is
yeah.
what you would be if you were better as a...
Thank you very much.
AI.
We've been discussing Australia proposing a social media ban for under 16s. They won't be able to see Christmas pictures like this anymore. And Google launching Antigravity, another code editor supported by various AI agents that the under 16-year-olds who are bored, they can do that and use the LLMs to get things to threaten people.
And take over
Thank
the
you very
world.
much. That was the internet, seriously.
What a great...
Hello.